2018, my mother passed away from motor neuron disease. It was a travesty for so many reasons, but one of the reasons was she was really healthy, like physically healthy. She was really physically healthy. Great blood pressure, great heart, never had any kind of scares with cancer, like was really healthy. Could have been one of these mums that went till they were 90, you know, but motor neuron disease got her at 78. Which is still a pretty good innings, right? You know, a lot of people would plead for 78, but it was the kind she had the kind of health that could easily have seen her for another decade. Seeing her grandkids get older and that kind of stuff. And this is an announcement that's just come out in the last couple of days about a pretty amazing thing happening in a New Zealand laboratory. New Zealand scientists see a major breakthrough for motor neuron disease as our good news story of the night.
So this is some brain tissue that's been stained to see where the proteins lie.
It's precious and invaluable. Human brain tissue, and more than 40 Kiwis and international patients, many who died from motor neuron disease, generously donated theirs to Dr. Emma Scotter. It's led to a medical breakthrough. She and her team at University of Auckland have figured out how to tell the difference between harmful and harmless mutations of a rare gene causing the disease.
I would say it's a breakthrough in understanding the genetic code. So we're really excited that you can now look in the tissue and understand what went wrong.
So for those who have a genetic test that gives a red flag for the gene, it can be determined whether they're at risk of MND or not. Work towards a treatment which would eliminate rogue versions of the gene is now underway in Dr. Scotter's lab. She's also working with live patients who donate blood to test their genes to determine a genetic cause.
That's what people really want to know. What does this mean for my children? Are they at risk? And in one case, we've been able to go back to the family and say, we found the cause of your motor neuron disease, and the family were able to be tested, and the younger generation could have a baby born free of that gene.
She describes it as the most amazing and heartwarming experience from their genetic testing.
Being able to change the fate of a family, no longer passing down this gene and risking passing down motor neuron disease.
That's amazing.
Yeah, the whole team were in tears.
Yeah.
About 400 Kiwis are tonight living with motor neuron disease. In about 90% of cases, there is no known family history. The rest is known to be inherited. Scientists have linked 35 genes to the disease and believe environmental toxins play a role. What's not in doubt is the disease can be brutal.
People lose the ability to move everything, including the muscles of breathing. From diagnosis to death, around 2 years, total of 3 years from onset. That's the average.
She now hopes her work will continue to provide important pieces in the giant puzzle of motor neuron disease. Amanda Gillies, News.
Pretty cool story. Personally, why I think it's a pretty cool story, but pretty cool story. And we had a whānau meetup 2 Saturdays ago, and one of the suggestions was we should have a good news story every now and again. And I saw that and I just went, oh, this is cool. What a cool story. We got to play this one.
This is something that I love. When they started doing the Human Genome Project decades ago now, this sort of stuff was part of the promise of that program.
Yeah.
When we start getting into gene sequencing and realizing what happens with the mutations and what can be turned off and on again, and it's this painstaking, methodical work by researchers to go through that code almost line by line of what makes us and what can really shunt us off the line. Like, you know, I've mentioned on the show, you know, I have ADD, and that has gone through people going, oh, it's environmental, to actually there's a genetic component of it and it's inherited and that sort of thing. And when people identify these things, you can start to try and fix it. Yeah. You think of terrible diseases like Parkinson's and MS and that sort of thing would be in that same wheelhouse as well.
For sure.
And then you get onto inherited cancers. And it's that work towards eliminating those sort of things You know, things that would have been, you know, cancer diagnoses breast cancer is the big one. They've identified a lot of the genes that make you more susceptible to breast cancer, and people are able to make choices before it affects them. That's amazing sort of stuff. Really, really mind-blowing.
Kia ora again, whānau. The clip you've just watched is brought to you today by our patrons. If you want to be a part of what we do, if you want to get behind what we're doing, if you're enjoying our content and wanting to share our content, then maybe you would consider being a patron to Big Hairy News. Head to www.patreon.com/Big Hairy News to sign up to one of our levels and be a patron. At this point, we are only a listener and viewer supported show. It all comes down to you guys. If you feel like jumping on board to help, then head to patreon.com/Big Hairy News. Hooroo!